In our last video, we discussed 5 pitfalls of a tech transition. For this video, we'll talk about 10 questions you must ask and answer to develop your tech transition plan. From a big picture perspective, the key to developing a successful tech transition plan is really about understanding exactly what needs to be done and all of the constraints that you have to work within to get that thing done. So let's get right to it. Here are 10 questions you must ask and answer to develop your tech transition plan. Number 1, what are the details of the work that needs to be done? Start with the highest level objectives and work your way down to more granular requirements. The most significant aspect of this is to make sure that you identify the most significant outcome, or what I like to call is the one thing. Of course, all of the requirements and objectives are important, but when you're thinking about the one thing, you want to ask, what's the one thing driving all of the work? Is it speed? Is it interoperability where things are working together? Is it just all about cost where we need to do whatever we can to make sure we do as much as we can within a cost? Here's a quick way to identify the one thing. Think about what happens if everything goes wrong. What's the one thing that must go right? That's normally the one thing. Truthfully, once we define and make sure that we're successful with the one thing, we will inevitably be successful with the entire plan as long as we don't fail with everything else. Number 2, how long do we have to get everything done? More specifically, since most transitions happen in phases, you need to know what things you need to get done when. Number 3, what's the budget? I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. So if you're having some issues with that one, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about it. Number 4, who are all of the stakeholders or people with vested interest in the transition? This is critical because you'll need to know everyone you need to work with to make sure that you're successful. Number 5, where are you transitioning the tech? What systems, locations, which customers, and more? Think about it like this. If you ran a moving company, you would want to know where you're taking the furniture or the equipment, right? Pretty basic. If it's multiple places, you want to know that too. So with the tech transition, you need to know where it's going. Number 6, what's the precedence? In other words, what needs to come first? What can we hold off on until later? Since most tech transitions are relatively complex, understanding the precedence allows you to eat the elephant one bite at a time in a systematic way that'll help you be the most successful. So knowing precedence is very important to ensuring success. Number 7, how much integration? It's one thing just to take a tool, pick it up, place it into production without modifying anything. We'll call that a lift and shift. It's a totally different thing to have to take something very complex and integrate it into operations. Think of an example where you're, again, running your own moving company, and you have to move a grand piano into a new house. Think of all of the things that you'll need to do and account for moving that grand piano to a new house. You may need a crane. You may need to cut a hole open in the ceiling and drop it in. You may need to reinforce the floors. There's a lot going on there. So just like with the tech transition, you need to know how much integration you'll need to be successful. Number 8, are you transitioning the full solution? Many times transitions are much easier when you're able to transition a piece of the solution at a time. Think agile or implementing software with multiple modules or features. You may want to transition a feature at a time or a base set of features first, then additional features over time. I understand that sometimes that's not an option, but you should definitely know this up front before you embark on the transition so that you can plan effectively. Number 9, what are the security considerations? Don't just think about cybersecurity, while that's very important, but what about physical security? Let's say you're dealing with the install of physical equipment or a system, right? You may need to account for things like a badge or a key fob and much more. Or if it is cybersecurity, passwords and things of that nature. I'm clearly only skimming the surface here because with a tech transition, they're going to be probably multifacets. There may be cyber, there may be physical, but these are the questions you need to have answered before you can move forward with a successful plan. Number 10, last one. What are the compliance considerations? Every industry has rules for compliance or rules for engagement that you must adhere to when you're transitioning and operating tech. You need to know and understand those rules of engagement or compliance considerations so you don't either outright fail because you violated them or dramatically increase the probability of failure. Those are the 10 questions that you need to ask and answer to develop a successful transition plan. I'm sure that there are many more, but I believe that as you ask and answer this question, this will begin to fill out the details and the nuance necessary within the plan.